You boys be quiet down there!
Welcome back to Neo Geo Generation. I'm Neo Alec. In this series, we've been covering every Neo Geo game in order, but this time we're taking time out to look at a brand new Neo Geo game. Project Neon is a new vertical shooter, or shmup, for Neo Geo by indie developer Fullset, first announced back in 2019. It's due for release in fall of 2024. This is an early look at the game. The game was developed by a truly international team. The lead developer is a German who now lives in Australia. The music was created by an Australian, with artists from Serbia and the Netherlands. Per the developer, some influences for Project Neon were Batsugun, Dogun, Dodonpachi, and S-Parade. You may also notice some references or homages to other games, like Chorencha. The game is currently being offered on Neo Geo cartridges priced at $550 Australian dollars for AES and MBS standard editions, with collector's editions of both available for $650. That comes out to about $360 US dollars for the standard edition and $425 US dollars for the collector's edition. By now, if you followed the Neo Geo scene, you're no doubt familiar with the huge amount you'll need to pay for new games on physical cartridges. These cartridges are complex custom hardware. You're paying for an experience here that is more than just the game itself. Understandably, it's not something that's going to interest everybody, so as always, I'm putting the cost aside here and focusing on covering the product itself. Now, full disclosure, I already paid the normal full price for my pre-order of the final release of this game. However, I was lucky enough to be provided with a preview build of the game by Fullset in order to make this video, so that's what we'll be looking at here. Fullset has provided me with preview copies of both the AES and MBS versions, but keep in mind the final products may vary slightly, with some printing corrections. I've got to say, this is quite handsome packaging. They did not skimp on the print quality at all, with glossy paper and labels. The AES version comes in a good quality snap-lock case, while the MBS is in, I guess we're calling them soft boxes? I prefer these to the older shock boxes myself because they're smaller and are very close to the cases used for earlier official AES releases. I wouldn't mind getting aftermarket cases like this for my entire MBS collection. The look of this MBS cartridge label reminds me quite a bit of the one for Xenocrisis, for whatever reason. Both cartridges feel substantial in weight, just like a real Neo Geo release, unlike some of those bootlegs out there that feel very light. There's a 10-page full-color bilingual manual in English and Japanese. The collector's edition also includes a Project Neon t-shirt, bag, cap, full-set socks, an instruction sheet, small A4 posters, a mini marquee, stickers, and a thank you card. The original size of the game is 52 megs, but cartridges feature a Wi-Fi update functionality, with enough memory to fit a whopping 1,608 megs. According to the developer, there are a lot of future possibilities planned for this cartridge. If you're surprised by the relatively small 52 meg size of this game compared with other recent indie Neo Geo games, then not to worry, we'll be getting to that shortly. The cartridge hardware also includes discrete 80 PCMA demux circuitry, allowing for full stereo sampled music without any wait time at boot up. But I'll be talking more about the game's groundbreaking music in a bit. The final cartridge is also purported to feature memory for saving high scores and soft dip settings, even on the AES version, which will be amazing to see since normally on AES systems with a Unibios, the soft dip settings don't even persist after a soft reset. It's the year 2042. Earth's climate has become unbearable, resulting in the loss of half the world's population. Apparently, only one man can save humanity, but fed up with the whole situation on Earth, he's currently off playing Matt Damon on Mars. Your mission, Project Neon, is to bring him back unharmed. You'll have to go through the defenses of 4 other planets before reaching the Red Planet. Can you save the Earth before it's too late? You've probably noticed this game runs in a vertical screen orientation, also known as tate or tate mode. While no official Neo Geo releases did this, with Strikers 1945 Plus even devoting a large amount of extra HUD space on the left and right sides in order to accommodate the game on horizontal screens, Project Neon is the second vertically oriented indie release, the first one being Neo Zyx, released by NG Dev Team in 2013. So to play this game in its optimum conditions, you'll need a screen or monitor that can be placed on its side. A vertical arcade cabinet is best. Some candy cabs can be rotated, but it's usually not at all easy to do this, so it's not something you're going to do every day. So a dedicated vertical arcade cabinet is ideal. For the rest of us, I recommend a reasonable sized HDMI monitor or TV placed on its side, paired with your favorite upscaler. I even own a small CRT TV that works when rotated on its side, but most consumer CRTs won't display correctly when turned on their side. Project Neon also includes and defaults to a Yoko or horizontal mode, which keeps the game's graphics in the same vertical orientation but turns the HUD and controls to match the horizontal screen, as well as a few minor in-game graphics like power-ups. The game even goes the extra mile, including graphics for the intro and ending in a full horizontal presentation, which looks nice. The display mode can be switched in either the MVS soft dip settings or the options menu included while playing on an AES BIOS. Now, I know there are still those who asked with both this game and Neo Zyx, why not include a mode where the vertical screen is fully rotated and displayed in the center of the screen without having to rotate the TV or monitor? Well, the answer is simply the Neo Geo isn't capable of doing that. You've probably played vertical shooters on newer consoles that included the option to rotate the screen, but Neo Geo is 1990 hardware that isn't capable of rotating graphics. The graphics for this game are drawn for a vertical screen orientation, and simply can't be scaled and flipped by the Neo Geo. That's a feature players have come to expect from modern ports, but it isn't possible here on the vintage hardware. Press A for your standard shot. Holding the A button allows for rapid fire. Tap C for a more controlled single shot. Tapping it rapidly allows for faster movement of your ship. The B button fires your beam. Beams can be stocked and stored for use when you're in a pinch. The beam fires a solid line of attack in front of your ship, eliminating all shots it comes in contact with, and doing major damage to enemies. And that's everything. It's a fairly simple 3-button setup. Per the developer, the name Project Neon refers to the vibrant and colorful graphics. I like the look of the simple pixel art. Compared with the 3D pre-rendered look of many of NG Dev Team's games, Project Neon has a clean and easy-to-read look. The screen isn't overly busy with incidental graphical details, so bullet and enemy patterns are easily distinguished. That can be the difference between life and death in fast-paced shooters like this.
Grandpa, you're the spaceship, not the...
I'm the what? I thought I was this guy.
Don't expect anything mind-blowing about the enemy designs. For the most part, you'll encounter basic spacecrafts and ground enemies, but the animal-themed bosses stand out. Per the developer, the enemy designs were made up as they were going, and were what they found fitting after defining the world around them. There's also a fair amount of parallax scrolling in the backgrounds, sprinkled in where it counts. Project Neon resembles a bullet hell shooter at times, especially during the bosses and some of the mini-bosses or larger enemies during the stages. But at other times in the stages, the screen is less busy, becoming more focused on evading enemy patterns. The player's hitbox is 8x8 pixels in the center of your ship, and this was deliberately chosen during testing to make the game more enjoyable and fair. The game does a good job of maintaining its speed, with minimal slowdown on the aging hardware, at least in one-player mode. Add a second player, and the minor slowdown you'll sometimes encounter during the bosses is a welcome reprieve from the difficulty. And while we're on the subject, having that 2-player mode here is really appreciated, even though offline multiplayer generally goes underutilized by today's players. This type of retro-inspired arcade shooter really needs to offer a customary, era-appropriate 2-player option as standard, and frankly the game wouldn't feel at home on Neo Geo without it. The game's difficulty really feels dialed in just right, at least in my opinion. Easy enough to pick up and play for the average player, but challenging from stage 1. I die a lot in this game, but I never feel cheated. It always feels like it was my fault for not paying attention to something, and I've steadily improved as I've learned the game, though I haven't had time to improve enough. Where have I seen these rocks that shoot at you after they're destroyed before?
Or the dogs with bees in their mouth, and when they bark, they shoot bees at you?
The game's 5 stages are relatively short, but just long enough. The full game can be completed in just under 25 minutes. It is just slightly on the short side, but still appropriate for this style of shooter, and a good length for trying to study and master the game. Project Neon is fully compliant with Neo Geo system standards. The game fully supports the Unibios, including a custom boot logo, as well as the memory card, allowing for saving on each of the 5 stages. In a future update, the opening story will also display in Japanese, depending on your system's BIOS region. The game limits you to 5 credits in AES mode. Will it be enough to finish the game? With some practice, perhaps. Project Neon features a soundtrack created by FreezeDream, who also did the music for the Mega Drive game Tanglewood back in 2018. The music is one area that distinguishes Project Neon from other homebrew and indie titles released for the Neo Geo so far. A little bit of background. In late 2021, Neo Geo support was added to the popular chiptune music tracker Deflamask. A tracker is a tool that modern chiptune music composers and arrangers use to create music. Prior to this, there hadn't been any tracker that supports real Neo Geo hardware, so every indie game that's been released since official support for the Neo Geo ended in 2004 up until now didn't feature music arranged for the Neo Geo's YM2610 synthesizer, which is capable of FM synthesis, SSG, and 80 PCM recordings. Every game from NG Dev Team's Last Hope to Bitmap Bureau's Xenocrisis used recorded music instead of Neo Geo synth by playing a recording using the Neo Geo's 80 PCM channels. The music in these games is basically like playing a low bitrate version of CD audio or an MP3. Project Neon changes all that. For this game, FreezeDream created a chiptune soundtrack which uses the Neo Geo's FM and SSG synthesis, a feature that has gone long untapped. Because of this, the total ROM size of Project Neon is a far more reasonable 52 megs, compared to the inflated meg counts of other games using large amounts of memory to store recorded music. Perhaps in part because Deflamask Neo Geo support is effectively an all-new sound driver that's never been used in a Neo Geo game before, the music in Project Neon is not quite like any officially released Neo Geo game. It's using the YM2610 in a way it never really was used in the console's lifetime. Some examples of official games that use a lot of FM are Puzzle de Pon, the very poorly done Gururin, and very basic sounding Pop and Bounce. The official releases from SNK and most other developers tended to be very sample heavy. Until the later years, when many developers simply switched over to fully recorded music, similar to all the unofficial Neo Geo releases we've had so far. A feat which was impressive back in the late 90s, but not quite as much today. However, Project Neon seems to be mostly using 80 PCM samples only for percussion. The sound of the FM and SSG channels in Project Neon might remind you more of a Sega Genesis or Mega Drive game than other soundtracks on the Neo Geo. The Neo Geo sound chip only has 4 FM channels versus the 6 of the Mega Drive, but it's great to hear those 4 channels used to full effect. I love hearing the untapped potential of these FM and SSG channels, which has gone dormant for so many years until now. A very synth-heavy soundtrack. By the way, going totally off topic here, if you want to hear those simple SSG channels sing, look no further than the Neo Turf Masters soundtrack. The SSG even plays the melody here. Project Neon's music is contemporary electronic techno style, again quite different from any official Neo Geo release, but making full use of the sound chip. I quite like the dense arrangements and moody melodies, which will no doubt become familiar as you replay and improve at the game. In addition to the 5 stage themes, much like SNK games back in the day, each of the 5 stage bosses has its own unique BGM as well. The songs generally have a decent runtime and play a while before looping back to the beginning. In fact, at 3 minutes and 25 seconds, the first stage music is too long for the stage without stopping to pause the game. This is the part of the video where I normally would cover the Neo Geo CD version of the game, but no Neo Geo CD version of Project Neon has been announced so far. Some games are too large to fit on the Neo Geo CD's memory limits, so they are technically impossible anyway, but that isn't the case here. Anytime a new Neo Geo game is announced, you'll see plenty of requests for a Neo Geo CD version, but the dirty little secret, or not so secret, is that the second a Neo Geo CD version is released, the game can be easily copied and distributed online. So I totally get why some developers are wary of CD releases, at least while their game is still new. Project Neon isn't doing anything groundbreaking or earth-shattering, except for perhaps the soundtrack, but it is a very solid, well-built, quick little vertical shooter that evokes styles of the past for the vintage Neo Geo hardware. The 2-player support is a welcome feature, and there is enough tough but fair gameplay here to keep the average player occupied for a while. I do recommend Project Neon, with the usual caveat that you're obviously going to pay a huge premium for the cartridge. I had a great time learning the enemy patterns and improving my score while enjoying the soundtrack. It's amazing that there are such talented programmers and artists working on the Neo Geo today. I encourage you to check the game out if you're at all interested and have the opportunity to do so. Thank you for watching Neo Geo Generation. On this series, I've been covering every officially released Neo Geo game one by one in order, or trying to at least. We'll be back with another traditional episode in the series soon. To keep up with the latest videos, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to Basement Brothers. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, go play some Neo Geo. This is Neo Alec signing off.